Hi, everybody. Ron Placone here. You're watching another summary from the Indie Bohemians morning show. One of the issues we've talked about a good bit on this channel and on my radio show and elsewhere is the issue of net neutrality. It's a very pressing issue. Net neutrality basically assures a free and open internet. It prohibits ISPs from providing priority to certain websites and certain providers or even customers and creating fast and slow lanes on the internet. Barack Obama finally, and I say finally because over the years he has been an advocate for net neutrality. And then all of a sudden, when these issues came to the surface, when the lawsuit was filed by the telecommunications companies, he kind of backed off a little bit, it seemed, and Tom Wheeler as well, the chairman of the FCC. And Obama came out and he said that he supports net neutrality and also he supports reclassifying the internet to a common carrier. Doing so by the FCC would basically assure net neutrality. And Obama has finally, and a lot would say, and I would say it, that reclassifying the internet as such is the only way to truly preserve net neutrality. And since this issue's been going on, the president and the FCC and other agencies have kind of danced around doing that. They've entertained these other solutions that would protect the free and open internet, but also give the ISPs an opportunity to price gouge more or less. And finally, Obama has come out and said he supports true net neutrality and the reclassification of the internet. And my rhetorical question here, is it too late? So I'm just going to straight up answer that question as it doesn't have a direct answer, but I'm going to say it's not too late, but it would have been way cooler if this would have happened a lot sooner. Pretty much from May until present day, a lot of the proposals that Tom Wheeler has put forth that have then been scratched and revisited have not included actual net neutrality. They've included, basically, they've danced around the issues and they would include ways for fast lanes and slow lanes. In fact, they straight up included fast lanes and slow lanes, but the FCC said, well, we won't let anyone prioritize certain web content over other web content. We'll regulate that. And the people were supposed to just take the FCC's word at that, and that was it, more or less. It never actually went as far as to protect true net neutrality. And the reason for that is because there's money to be made on the part of the ISPs, the Verizons and the Comcasts of the world that are pushing forward with this lawsuit. They're against net neutrality. Why? Because if net neutrality would cease to exist, they could charge more for certain parts of the internet. They could charge a subscription fee to certain websites. They could, there's all kinds of different things they could do. They could even charge bigger companies more money for the traffic that they produce. And what's interesting to me is that never once, just kind of to some of the opponents of net neutrality, never once when talking about these issues, because some people say, well, Netflix takes up so much space or something like that, maybe they should pay more. Never once has anyone addressed the problem with some of the infrastructures in this country. Never once has anyone addressed that so many countries are doing so much better than the United States because they have just a more like municipal-owned internet. In fact, in Chattanooga, Tennessee, right here in the United States, they have municipal-owned internet, and that internet is faster and better than pretty much anything else in the United States, and it's cheaper. So really, we have poorer infrastructure because these companies don't want to invest unless they can make as much money as possible. And why should they invest more if the service is only going to be at such a level? And furthermore, they're just going to price gouge for it. So, I mean, this has been a predatorial capitalistic practice on behalf of the Comcasts of the world already. Without net neutrality, any rational person can only assume this would continue. And the reason that we haven't entertained the idea of reclassifying the internet as a common carrier is because, they get a lot of this. There's a lot of this floating around, and Tom Wheeler and the FCC knows that if they would do that, that would stop those companies from being able to price gouge in that regard, and they would not be happy about that. Obama has finally come forward. I'm glad he came forward. I'm glad that this happened. And of course, I think it's a response to the public in a lot of ways. You know, he even said so himself in his YouTube address, Obama did, that, you know, millions of people have come forward on this issue and have demanded net neutrality. So, but of course, my thing is, well, is it a little too late? Like I said, why did he not come forward in May when the first proposal came in? Why did he not say this proposal is not acceptable? Why did he not come forward to the proposal after that? There have been multiple proposals by the FCC. I'm sure the election had nothing to do with it. At least not for him personally. I mean, not for him. Yes, he's not up for re-election, but in terms of the Democrats and so forth, that definitely had something to do with it, I would say. But so I'm glad he came forward. I don't think it's too late, but I do wish this would have happened sooner. Will the FCC take this into account and actually reclassify the internet? I don't know. If they do not do such, then net neutrality is still not protected. Reclassifying the internet as a common carrier is the only way to protect true net neutrality. And net neutrality is truly essential for media democracy, in my opinion. I mean, there's obviously, as a content creator, net neutrality plays a role in my life a good bit. But I think it really plays a role in everyone's life because, you know, if we lose net neutrality, don't be surprised if the internet in this country looks a lot like cable television 2.0, where it's extra money to access certain sites and stuff like that. It could happen. And with the way these companies have been so predatory in the way they do business so far, one can only assume that would be the next step. I mean, why else would they be so opposed to net neutrality in the first place? So we'll see how this unfolds. We'll see if President Obama has an influence on the FCC and then they do what he suggests. They cannot do that. And he even pointed that out. He's like, oh, the FCC operates on their own. They might not do this, but I think they should. I hope it's not too little too late. I hope they do what he suggests. We'll see. You've been watching a summary from the Indie Bohemians Morning Show, and this is Ron Placone signing out.